At 4 a.m. in Lebanon, guns were being fired, but this time in celebration, as a ceasefire finally took hold. Later, lines of cars stacked with mattresses returned to southern Lebanon. Families who had fled the violence finally able to go home.
Peace is possible.
President Biden with welcome news ahead of Thanksgiving, after thousands displaced on both sides of the border amid the deadliest war in decades.
This is designed to be a permanent cessation of hostilities.
While overnight, an Israeli strike in Syria near a border crossing with Lebanon, underscoring Prime Minister Netanyahu's vow not to let Hezbollah rearm. Netanyahu saying last night, if Hezbollah violates the agreement and tries to rearm itself, we will attack. But the vote in favor of a ceasefire by the Israeli cabinet being called a serious mistake by right-wing members of the government. Israel will withdraw from Lebanon over 60 days, replaced by UN peacekeepers and the Lebanese National Army, who failed to prevent Hezbollah firing rockets in the past, while Hezbollah would retreat north of the Litani River. A coalition of countries will monitor the ceasefire, including France, but no US forces on the ground. It will be a fragile truce. Netanyahu warning the duration of the ceasefire depends on what happens in Lebanon. An Israeli offensive that saw bombs in pages, the assassination of Hezbollah's leader Hassan Nasrallah, and thousands dead. Israel still finding targets on the last day in Beirut and in the south, with Hezbollah firing rockets across the border. And in the south, news this morning of fresh strikes in Gaza, where around 100 hostages, including Americans, are still held by Hamas. That war is not over.
So as you point out, Keir, this fragile peace deal now in place, but this is going to be yet another year, another holiday season that the hostages are still not home with their families. Where do things stand on a deal for their release? What more can you tell us about that?
Well, that's right, Craig. Here's what Prime Minister Netanyahu is saying. He's saying he hopes this deal will isolate Hamas and lead to a wider peace deal, including the release of those hostages. President Biden is saying in that speech in the Rose Garden, Hamas now has a choice to make. The only way out is to release the hostages, including the American citizens. Now, Craig, some of those hostage families have been critical of that deal. President Biden promising, though, to do all he can in the coming weeks to push for their release. Craig.
Keir Simmons for us there. Keir, thank you.
Hey, thanks for watching. Don't miss the Today Show every weekday at 11 a.m. Eastern, 8 Pacific on our streaming channel, Today All Day. To watch, head to today.com/allday or click the link right here.